There we go. Thank you. I realized I should have, after the recording started, I should have introduced. So let me do that again. So this is the What is Workforce Workplace All About ESJ Fair 2023 session. And we're going to be talking about that work group today. My name is Maria Pintar. I use she, her pronouns, and I am one of the co-leads of the group. I work in the Adult Services Division on the ARPA federal funding team, and I will let my co-lead Joanna introduce herself.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joanna Armstrong. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a co-lead on this work group alongside Maria Pintar. I'm on the contracting and procurements team in the director's office.
And I just want to give a shout out to Anne and Margaret who are helping with the presentation today, and also Joanna. So thank you all. And if there's any other Workforce Workplace members in the group, please introduce yourselves in the chat. And a couple of notes, we just want to say that closed captions are enabled. So if you'd like to turn them on, you can go ahead and do that. And we want to try to fit everything in today. So if you have questions or comments, please put them in the chat as we go along. And we also will have time for questions at the end. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. All right, so we wanted to make our session interactive and fun. So we have some polls for you. So we have 2 polls on this page. So the first one should have popped up on your screen. And the question is, what brings you here today? And you can choose as many options as you like. So we're getting a lot of responses. Looks like 7 people answered, 8 people answered. All right, let's give it 10 more seconds and then we can close the poll. All right, I'm going to close the poll, and then from my end, I can't tell if it's sharing, but we can share the results.
Oh, sorry, Maria, I also did that. Can you all see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Yay. Okay, great. Thank you. So it looks like 100% of people, oh, I can only see like part of the answer. Oh, here we go. Care about creating a racially diverse and culturally responsive workplace. That's great. 92% of you want our workplace culture to feel respectful and for all employees to be treated with dignity and respect, I'm thinking that says. And then another majority of you are curious to learn about this work. And then you also like interactive presentations. So great, we're glad you're here. And are there any answers in the chat? I'm not able to see that.
No, nothing in the chat.
Nothing in the chat. Okay, thanks. Well, thanks everyone for participating in the poll. So we will ask you one other question. We have a second poll here for you. So this one might take a little longer to answer, but we are looking at asking you, how might DCHS build a culture of inclusion and excellence? So I think this one gives you like 200 characters, not super long, but you can give a couple sentences thinking of ways that DCHS could make our workplace culture a great place to be where everyone feels included. So we're really curious to have your answers. So we'll give it a little more time, maybe a minute, minute and a half. So go ahead and take your time. Oh, and I forgot to say, all of these are anonymous. So we don't see who's answering. We don't have names. No one's names will be included. All of the answers we can show them at the end. So if you just write something that you're good with having being shown on the screen. And we hope to see everyone's answers here in a minute. Thank you so much for playing along. Okay, we'll give people a little more time. Let's say like 15 more seconds, and then we'll close this poll. Okay, so on my end, I can see that the poll has been closed. Are we able to share the results?
I don't see anything yet.
And what about you? Are you able to see the results?
I think I'm sharing them. I clicked on share and do you
And
see
it just
them?
says 100% answered.
Okay,
Ooh,
so
okay.
so then it actually, because I think it's short answer, maybe it gave me a way to view the details. Do you want me to read them or?
Actually, I see a way that I could share them. I think I have
Okay,
to just share a separate screen. So if
yeah,
that's okay, let me
go for
try
it.
that.
Yep.
All right, we did do a run through, but it was a little unclear when we did the run through. Okay, I think this is it. Okay, so you should be seeing
Yes.
opener poll two. Okay, I'm going to make the screen a little bit bigger.
Great.
Okay, so how might DCHS build a culture of inclusion and excellence? Focus on building trust and transparency with the staff. When it comes to ESJ, I hear a lot of fear around this work. Universal design for accessibility, making sure that access needs are a built-in expectation for all online or in-person greetings, normalizing the need for accommodation considerations, identify opportunities to flatten existing power structures, basically ensure workers have opportunities to lead and we don't bottleneck impactful decisions, more robust onboarding and support for new staff, continue to create space within the workflow and workday to have ESJ work as a priority, more recognition of the contributions of lower paid staff members, not just years of service, but highlight how they contribute. Focus more on relationship building, acknowledge that people have a lot going on outside of work and extend grace. Leadership, understand and lead the way, and be transparent, constant, and proactive with all communications to employees. These are great. Thank you so much, everybody. These are wonderful. We are definitely going to take these all back to our group and talk about these and how we could use these in our group and the other work that we do for sure. And we think that because you all have so many great ideas, we'd love for you to hear what Workforce Workplace has been working on and to maybe share some more ideas as we go along in this presentation. So thank you so much for sharing these, and we'll get a little bit more chance to talk about this further on today too. So let me come back to the presentation. Let me make sure I pick the right one. I think it's this one. Okay. Are you seeing the poll? It says poll.
Still
what
on the
folks are
last poll.
still in the last poll. So if I hit, do you see the agenda slide now?
No, not yet.
Nope.
Not yet.
Oh, okay. I think I have to hit resume share. Okay, what are we seeing now?
It's still the same.
Okay. What about now?
Now, yeah.
Now, is it at the
There we
agenda?
go. Woohoo.
Yay. Okay, great. All right. So thank you so much for bearing with us. So the agenda today is we're going to talk about an overview of our work group, talk about some past work that we did, some of our current work, and then our 2023 work plan ideas. And this is where your thoughts come into play. We would love to know, what do you want to see this group work on in 2023? And then some information on how to join the group. So the next slide will take us into just the beginning of this section. So this is our goal area overview. In the 2016, I believe it was ESJ strategic plan. This was actually an excerpt from that. So there were, I think, 6 goal areas identified for how to make King County a more equitable place to work. And so the workforce workplace goal area was identified as one of those areas. And this orange section kind of is the overview of what it's all about. So this work group is all about investing in having a pro-equity organization and workplace culture for every employee, driven by a racially diverse and culturally responsive workforce at all levels. And so before we get into some details, we have another quick question for you. We have a poll, if Anne, you want to launch it. Okay, so I see here it's the, this is a multiple, or really rather a single choice question. Guess which one of these is not a subgroup that Workforce Workplace has had? And I realize we kind of gave the answer in the last slide. And so if you're paying attention, you might have noticed that we kind of gave the answer. And it looks like a lot of you are paying attention, or maybe you just know this already, which is great. So we'll give it a few more seconds and then we'll close the poll. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's end the poll. All right, can folks see the results?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So the majority of you got it right. Yes, manager training and resilience subgroup is not one of the groups that we had. The other three are subgroups that we had. So it was a tricky question, but very good job. And it's okay if you didn't get it right. So thanks for playing. And so we're going to go on to our overview of our goal area team. So again, our goal is to build a pro-equity organization and workplace culture in DCHS, driven by a racially just and culturally responsive workforce at all levels. And so the objectives, again, this is from the ESJ strategic plan, are an equitable and inclusive workplace culture, an equitable workforce, equitable employee development and access to opportunities, and equitable access to decision-making. And so some of our past priority action areas included data transparency and accountability, which is still one of our current areas of work, exploring changes to the performance appraisal form and process, developing supports and resources to improve employee retention, and the workforce workplace work group as a confidential liaison for folks who may not be as comfortable with reporting things to maybe their boss or to HR, for example. So to be a part of this work group, the minimum time commitment is 1 hour a month. We meet for 1 hour a month. And if folks want to join any of the work groups where they kind of focus on one of those priority areas, that would be maybe an additional 2 to 3 hours a month. And so that's kind of what you would be looking at if you wanted to join us. And again, it's just the 1 hour minimum. Just anything more is extra that you would like to do. So you may have attended the session yesterday about the 2022 ESJ reset. And so if you did or didn't, just a quick overview is that King County DCHS paused on most of ESJ work in 2022 in order to restructure how ESJ work is done in the department. And one of those things included creating the ESJ coordinating body, which is like a multi-departmental, multi-group body of folks doing ESJ work and meeting on a regular basis, including many folks in leadership to help to move the ESJ work forward. And so that kind of started in late 2022, early 2023. And so the new process of how we do our ESJ work is brainstorming issues, developing a work plan, talking to colleagues, making a plan or proposal for how to address the issue, and then bringing it to leadership and ESJ staff at those coordinating body meetings and requesting support. And actually, we had a really great success story recently with one of the coordinating body meetings. Our work group brought an issue to some of the leadership that were there, and we said, hey, there's been a couple years where we've had some barriers in place, and we would love some leadership support to remove those barriers going forward. We had two staff who stepped forward to support that work and help to start removing those barriers within 2 days after that. So it was really great and a great success story of how this new process is working. So we're really excited about that. So we're now going to talk about some of our past work. And the reason is we want to kind of know what you think and give you a little overview of what we have done and what we want to do going forward. So this subgroup was called the Performance Appraisal Subgroup. And before we get into it, we have another poll. Thank you, Anne. So this question is a silly one. We're doing some lighthearted questions because ending racism is a heavy topic. And so we like to throw in a little bit of lightheartedness here and there. So Anne had this great question. Would you rather fight 10 duck-sized horses or 1 horse-sized duck? And your options are 10 duck-sized horses, 1 horse-sized duck, or I'm a lover, not a fighter. And all are equally acceptable. And I see people joining in and giving their answers. And it's fun to see like the little bars going up and down. So we'll give it like 10 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So I hit the share results button. I don't know if you did too, Anne, but can folks see the results?
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Margaret. So most of you are lovers, not fighters, and that makes total sense in this ESJ presentation, working on equity and social justice. We're fighting for love and for equity, but many of you want to fight duck-sized horses, and that is a very funny image to think about. Okay, thank you so much. So we will go on to talk about something more serious. So what this subgroup was about. Excuse me, I'm a little sick. I have to cough really quick. Okay, so we had a subgroup in the past called our performance appraisal subgroup. The issue being addressed was that DCHS staff who are doing ESJ work don't always receive credit or recognition for that work. And so they might, usually most of us who are doing that work are doing it on top of our regular jobs, but in our performance appraisals may not have any recognition of that. And also managers aren't evaluated extensively on their ESJ capacity. And so for some context, staff and management performance appraisals include little to no ESJ criteria. And the actual King County ESJ strategic plan called for that inclusion by 2018. So it's something that still needs some work. And so work that happened in 2021 and previously was assessing the utility of using performance appraisals as the vehicle to recognize and encourage ESJ work at staff and management levels. And our group also created a presentation laying out the problem and using data from the DCHS ESJ survey, supporting the issue and seeking solutions. And so this poll is where we're asking you, is this an area where you would like to see Workforce Workplace to continue working on going forward? And so the options are yes, no, I need more information, or not sure. And obviously this was a very quick overview, so makes sense if you would like more information or need more information. So we'll give about maybe 15 more seconds on this one. Okay, I think the responses have slowed down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm going to end the poll. And I'm never sure if you can see the results, so if someone can say that you can see them.
You can see them.
Okay, great. So it looks like most of you do think that we should keep working on that. Great. And it looks like a good chunk of you also would like more information, and some of you are not sure, and that's totally fine. We want to definitely take this back to our work group, and we will discuss it as a team for sure. And I also just want to pitch that if this is something you think is important and you would like to help out, we certainly would love your help. So something to consider. All right, we're going to move on to the next slide. So for this other section of past work that we did, this subgroup was called the Employee Retention Supports Subgroup. And we're going to ask you another silly question to kind of break it up a bit. So this one is about the future, having superpowers. If you could have the superpower, the ability to see either 10 minutes into the future or 150 years into the future, which would you choose? And if you want to put in the chat like why you would choose that, feel free, because I think that's kind of a fun question. Okay, let's give this one like 10 more seconds. Okay, we'll go ahead and close this poll. This is interesting. It's kind of a more even split than I would have thought. So assuming you all could see it, looks like a little bit more of you want to see 150 years into the future. Some folks want to see 10 minutes into the future. And I was able to look at the chat, trying to figure out which would cause the most anxiety. Yeah, I think both would definitely cause anxiety. Agreed. All right. Well, thanks for doing that thought experiment with us. Okay, so now we'll skip back into some serious stuff, talking about this work group that we had, our subgroup that we had. So our employee retention support subgroup that we had in the past was addressing the issue of not every employee may feel welcomed or included at King County DCHS. And so the goal for this subgroup was to cultivate clear pathways for new and existing DCHS employees to access support and nurture a culture of inclusion and excellence. And during quarters 2 to 4 of 2021, the subgroup collaborated with HR and other internal partners to strengthen accountability for DCHS managers in fostering caring work relationships with employees in alignment with the King County ESJ strategic plan. So some of the work that happened in 2021 and previously, the group connected with Amber Green on the biannual DCHS Supervisor Survey. And I'll just take a side note to say, I know not everyone may not know what that is. I think it came out in 2020 where DCHS decided to launch a specific separate survey that all DCHS employees take. I think it's twice a year. And so if you're newer, you may not have seen this yet, where every employee can evaluate their own supervisor and then any supervisor in their division, including all the way up to Leo floor. And so this survey evaluates supervisors on their core leader behaviors. And so the next steps were to better understand how the survey results are used to promote supervisor accountability, particularly if there are concerns about a supervisor not supporting a culture of inclusion and excellence. And the group planned to continue working with Amber and the ESJ leadership team on developing processes that continue to emphasize all leaders' responsibility to nurture caring work relationships with their employees. So that's your overview of that subgroup. And next we have a poll similar to the last one. Now that you know a little bit about the employee retention subgroup, is that an area that you would like to see workplace working on going forward? Your options are yes, no, I need more information, not sure. So go ahead and take a minute to answer that one. Okay, I'm going to count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, ending the poll. Okay, it looks like a majority of you are also thinking this is an important work to keep going forward. 71%, and then a few of you also wanted more information or were not sure, which makes sense too. And so yeah, thank you so much for answering that. We will also take that back to our group and see if we can get some folks working on that subgroup going forward. Great. Thank you for your feedback. Okay, next we're going to talk about our current main 2023 project that we're working on. So this is our data transparency and accountability project, and it's, again, like I said, the main work in 2023. So first, our last silly poll. And this is, I think, the most important question. Does pineapple belong on pizza? Yes, no, or I don't like pizza or have no opinion on it. Go ahead and answer that one. Okay, 10 more seconds to answer if pineapple belongs on pizza. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I think someone squeaked in. Okay, so the majority of you like pineapple on pizza and the minority does not. And I love that nobody was like neutral on it. Everybody had an opinion. This is amazing. I'm personally in the no camp, so I'm with you, the folks in the minority, but I understand that the world is generally a pineapple on pizza place, and that's okay. All right. Oh, I don't know if the results were shared. I'm clicking share. Maybe you can see it now.
You shared them.
Okay, cool. Thank you. All right. And so we'll go ahead and move on. So thank you for coming along with us on the silly questions. Okay. So into our data transparency work. So the issue being addressed here is that we know that there are disparities in workforce equity in DCHS based on race, gender identity, disability, age, and many other demographic categories. And in order to analyze where those disparities are and to eliminate them, we need transparent data on this information. And so greater transparency and accountability regarding practices and data on hiring, promotion, and staff retention is basically like the goal that we're trying to work toward. Excuse me. And so we also are asking for regular and broad access to transparent, flexible, and interactive data in a dashboard format of HR and workforce data. And again, this is like the ideal world. In an ideal world, we would have all of that. However, there are some barriers to getting those things, but we have been working toward and asking for those. And so we're still working on that. So in the past, what we did was we documented similar work that was done in the past on this topic, which the LOS team did a lot of great work on this topic in the past as well. And unfortunately, like a lot of ESJ work, this work has a cycle of starting and stopping and forcing new efforts, and sometimes work gets duplicated. And I think that's part of because, this is like on top of our regular jobs, we're doing this ESJ work, right? And so it's not always possible to keep it continuously going. But we tried to document all the work that was done and put it into one document. And so we wrote kind of a paper on that, and I'm going to actually show you in a second. And we documented some of the technological problems which might prevent the creation of accurate and interactive dashboards. And we also met with leadership to convey a sense of urgency in solving barriers to data transparency. And so the current status is that we do recognize that staffing capacity affects the ability of this work moving forward. King County DCHS has a small HR department and a small PME department, and we don't necessarily have all the staff to do this internal data analysis. So for a temporary solution, DCHS workforce data is being sent to the workforce workplace work group to discuss on a monthly basis. And HR has committed to sharing some data at all staff presentations every 6 months. So that's a wonderful plan for now and for going forward. What we did is we presented about this project and some of the barriers we were seeing at the ESJ coordinating body meeting. And I kind of mentioned this earlier this year. And we received sponsorship from 2 leaders. And then 2 days later, we came up with this temporary solution. And so we're continuing to advocate for full and complete answers to the many workforce data questions that DCHS staff have. So we're going to actually show you some of those now. So there are many data questions that are still unanswered. And so I'm going to try to share the right screen here. Okay, so I think it's back to this one. Okay, can you all see the Word document?
Yes, it says workforce data transparency and accountability.
Great, thank you, Margaret. So this is the document that we wrote, and we are happy to share this with anyone. We realize that the share button's acting kind of weird on this, so we can't just give you the link, but what we're gonna do is we can share it and email it to anyone who asks. So feel free to email us and we'll put our email addresses in the presentation later on, so you can get that. So we worked on this paper. We put together all the history that we could find on what had been done on this issue and what the barriers were. And so I'm going to just scroll quickly through it because it's not about reading this whole thing. What I'm going to get to is the unanswered questions that we still have. So there's a lot of questions, right, that remain unanswered. And so, just some examples. We would love to see basically staff by division broken down by race, ethnicity, gender, age, maybe a disability status, and other demographic questions broken down. Same thing about supervisors and managers, same thing with temporary employees by division, and also percentage of all employees. Maybe answering the question like, why are staff temporary and where will their body of work go when they leave DCHS? Questions about, what percentage of staff were appointed versus went through a competitive process, who is doing special duty assignments, who's receiving promotions, what about people exiting, broken down by demographics, also all sorts of other measurements. And we just have a lot of questions that the current data that we have doesn't necessarily or isn't able to answer all of these. This one is an example of where some of the data that we got compares the race and ethnicity of DCHS employees to King County employees. And we also have a question of what about the race and ethnicity of DCHS employees compared to people served by DCHS? That would be an interesting thing to look at as well. And another thing to know is that 2 years ago when we had our last ESJ Fair presentation, we had a Zoom just like this one. We had people show up just like you are. And we asked this question, what kind of workplace data are you curious about? And so these are some of the questions that people had. What are retention rates for BIPOC folks? How many BIPOC folks are TLTs? How many BIPOC folks are promoted into leadership or management, retention and upward mobility of African-American and Black women, support of working parents, single parents, or family caregivers at King County. That's a topic that, we haven't seen in the data before. So all sorts of really important questions that I think, DCHS employees want to know. So we are continuing to push for answers to these, and we would love to see, where we can get more information on that. So I'm going to skip back over to the PowerPoint. Okay, I think you probably can just see the regular view, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, now you can see the the view with the link on it? Can you see that
Yes.
page? Yay. Okay, great. Okay, so now that you have a bit of an overview of the data transparency and accountability work, we're wondering that same question again. So we're asking you now, what kind of workforce or HR data are you most curious about? And you can put as many as you want within your short answer. Hopefully you can fit in more than one if you would like. So I know this is a big question and we kind of just went over some stuff really quickly. Also, I realize I'm rushing and I think I could go a little bit slower because it's only 1:30. So please take your time. I'm going to give you like maybe a minute or two. As a reminder, please only write things that you're comfortable with everyone seeing. And again, this is anonymous. We can't see who's writing what. No one will see who's writing what. It's totally anonymous. So please feel free to share your ideas and your answers. What kind of data are you most curious about? So I'll give you like another minute to answer this one. Okay, 30 more seconds to answer. $15 more seconds to answer.
Can I jump in just for a second, Maria? I just wanted to sort of highlight the point that we don't all have access to this information. And that's an important part of this project, is to make sure that all staff have access to seeing this information. So if you're a staff person who sees some dashboards as a course of your work, that may be only you can see it. So we're sort of advocating for everyone being able to see all this information.
Yes, definitely. Thanks, Anne. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. I think we've given people 2.5 minutes. So now I'll do the thing where I click the view details, and then I think it can come up over here. So I'll share that window. Okay. Can you see the right window?
We can't see the details. It just says 100% answered.
Okay, let me try again.
I can see it. Oh,
Sorry, let me try this again. Share screen, and then I'll go to screen 2, or I'll do screen 2. Okay, can you see it now? Data transparency and accountability poll 2?
yep.
Okay, great. Make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so what are you most curious about? So we have demographics of TLTs and number of TLTs who go to career service, also by race. Starting salaries by race and other demographics. That's a good one. We haven't talked about that one. Starting salaries. Performance appraisal scores by race, comparing it with race of supervisor completing performance appraisal. That's a really intriguing one. Retention and the ways it breaks down demographically, how many in the bottom 20% get promoted, promotion rates, rates of hiring from within, TLT to career service conversions, employee to client, retention of BIPOC, specifically women, especially women, and promotion rate of that same group. I would like to see data on disability as it pertains to different types of positions, retention, et cetera. Retention and length of time people work, upward mobility of different groups. Would love more information on the performance appraisal subgroup work, in addition to having explicit areas to evaluate ESJ. Wondering what work has gone into evaluating the PA for white supremacy culture, why people choose to leave or even stay at King County. Yes, these are all so great. So thank you all so much for sharing all these ideas with us. We have, I think, a lot of these questions. I think we would all agree this would be really helpful to see. And we know that there are disparities, and we can't bring them to light and then address them unless we see where those are happening, and then we could, and then there's like no question that these are happening, and then we can address them and eliminate those disparities, right? So I think this is all data that would be so important and so wonderful for us to all be able to look at. Great. Well, thank you so much. Let me get back to the PowerPoint real quick. Did it work yet? Are you seeing the PowerPoint, but not in presenter view?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, if I do this. Okay, we're on the poll slide again.
Yes.
Okay, Zoom is confusing. Thank you. Okay, I went so fast. It's only 1:36. Like we have a lot more time, but it's probably good. You can get time back. Okay, so we're almost at the end. Thanks for coming along with us. So again, what we're doing in 2023. So like we said, we are doing the data transparency and accountability work. We're still focusing on that. There's so many questions that we have that are not yet answered. However, we have some polls for you and we'd love to know what you think. What should we work on in addition in 2023, or maybe just the data transparency work? So,
Okay, so Maria.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so just for everybody to know this, I don't know if it's a glitch of Zoom or if it is, I'm only allowed to have so many polls, but I'm not able to launch the last two. So if you open it and share that screen, they should be able to see it, but not like vote on it. They could use the chat maybe to put their answers. Do you see what I mean?
I wonder if I can launch it.
Yeah,
I think I can. Do you want me to try?
Oh, excellent. Yeah, if you can.
Okay, I'm just trying this now. So this is 2023 work plan poll 1. Okay, let me
Yes.
launch it. Tell me if it worked. Do you guys see it?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. Okay, great. So basically this is the question where it's multiple choice. So these are some of the topics that we in our group have talked about maybe covering going forward. So for example, TLT issues, which TLT means time limited. I should know this. I'm a TLT. It means basically a temporary position. Time limited temporary or term limited temporary position issues. Special duty issues, reclassification of a position or applying for the job you currently have. ESJ as a part of our work and job descriptions, microaggressions in our workplace, support from leadership for collaboration or networking within or between divisions, demystifying HR processes such as recruitment, hiring, promotions, reclassifications, and recruitment of union representatives. So we are looking for folks who are union representatives in the work group. I'll let you have a few more seconds to answer this one. So please take your time. I'll give folks about 20 more seconds. Okay, ending the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and I clicked share results. Are you able to see them?
Yes.
Thank you, Margaret. I really appreciate that. Okay, great. So it looks like a lot of people, the majority want to see some demystifying of HR processes. That's awesome. We are definitely interested in that as well. Great to know. ESJ as part of the work and job descriptions looks like the next one, the one after that, TLT issues, and just so many. It looks like almost all of these folks were interested in us working on going forward. So this is great. And again, thank you so much because it's really good to know what other employees want to see. So we will take this back to our work group. Thank you so much. And so now we have another question for you. So let's see if I can launch this last one. Okay. Clicking launch. All right, so it's what other workforce related topics would you like to see this work group address in 2023 that weren't already listed? Again, this is anonymous, and please write whatever you would like other folks to see. And so it's okay if we already covered every topic you could think of, but if you have other ideas, or if you just want to repeat things that you really think are important that you want us to see, write that down. But we would love to know, what do you think this work group should focus on to help us get to a more equitable workforce, racially diverse, culturally responsive, and equitable for everyone. So go ahead and write your answers in, and I'll give you, let's say 45 more seconds on this one. let's say like 15 more seconds. Okay, closing the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. I like don't want to rush it, but I also don't want to leave a lot of blank time. So thanks everybody for doing that. I'm going to click the share results and then click the view details and then move the presentation over here again. Okay, so now are you able to see the work plan poll 2 answers?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Okay. I've noticed there is not much info on affinity groups given to new employees. Is this something we could do? Can't think of anything beyond what you're focusing on already. Vacation and sick leave and how it's related to retention. That's one I hadn't heard before. Staff created space to discuss workplace issues outside of HR, but then can safely bring forth to this work group, similar to the affinity groups. More work on what DEI means operationally. More accountability, for managers and staff to work on ESJ issues. It's shocking sometimes when you speak with folks and they don't know how to define equity. ESJ and job descriptions for supervisors/managers, using the existing programs at King County to support ESJ and employees, including managing issues of critical concerns, preventing equity, inclusion, and belonging. Not another topic, but having more opportunities to hear from the work group about what they're doing, what they've learned, and any barriers would be great. And ESJ recommendations for managers. What do you wish your manager knew/could do? Wow, these are all so awesome. I'm sure like all the other workplace folks are like as excited as I am because these are all just such great ideas. I just don't know what to say, but thank you all so much because it's really helpful to know what folks want to know and what we can dig into. So coming back to the presentation for a second. Oh, I see someone put in the chat, term limited temporary. Yes, thank you, Zenib. All right.
Can I answer one of those already?
Oh, yeah.
Is that soon, probably in April, you'll start seeing an invite for, or at least a standing meeting for the coordinating body. And I think it'll be April when those will start to be open to all. Right now, we're just forming and everybody's learning their roles and what we're going to do and what the process is. But as soon as we get that down, then you'll all be invited to those meetings. So you can drop in at any time and find out what our work is. Not just us, but everybody.
Yes, thank you, Anne. That's right. That was one of my favorite things about the coordinating body meetings is the idea is that they're kind of supposed to be like all staff meetings where anybody can drop in and be like, what's going on in ESJ work in the department? So once we get that going, I'm hoping, yeah, like you, April, because we want to get people involved so they can know what's going on and how to join. Yes, that I'm so excited about that. So I'm hoping that'll happen in April. Thank you for bringing that up. All right, so I'm going to switch it back over. We're almost done with the presentation. So we did those last polls and now we are just talking about how to join. So clearly this group is full of people with amazing ideas and passion. So we would love to have any of you who are interested to join Workforce Workplace. I will say that our current work group is very small, but mighty. And so there's so many big topics that we want to cover as we talked about today. There's just so many. The more the merrier because we can't do as much with a smaller group, right? With more people, what is it like more hands make light work or something like that, right? So we would love for folks to join. Right now, we are meeting on third Friday of the month from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. via Teams, but that date and time may change in the future. So if that time doesn't work for you now, but it might in the future, you can email Joanna and I, our emails are on the screen. We can send you the calendar invite or you can ask questions or you can say, hey, email me if the date changes. I can't go to that one, but I could do other ones. Or if like a certain date really would work for you, like certain day of the week, let us know. So the next meeting right now is Friday, March 17th at 11 a.m. And I will leave it at the last slide, which is time for questions and discussion. So what thoughts, comments, questions do you have? Feel free to come off your mic, type in the chat, whatever you would like.
You were so thorough. Nobody has any questions, Maria.
We covered a lot and I talked really fast, so sorry for doing that. Hopefully it wasn't too much.
Oh,
I
Georgie
do
has a
have
good question.
Okay.
Georgie asked, does your work group work with HR directly at all?
Yes, great question, Georgie. So some of the HR representatives do come to our our work group meetings, and actually Yvette Martinez Morales is in the meeting right now. And Yvette is the head of HR, DCHS HR, and so we are so glad that she comes to our meetings, and she has been really instrumental in helping us to move forward with a lot of the work that we're doing. So we thank you, Yvette, and also Sue, I believe, comes. So we do have representation almost, I think, at every meeting. So it's been really helpful to have that collaboration.
And I want to just do a shout out to Yvette because she's actually moved barriers that we've had in place for years. And I saw that Maria Guizar is on the call. And so some of these things we've been working on for many years. And so Yvette has helped remove some of those barriers.
Definitely, yes. Yes, and so many of the parts of this work are HR related. We're really glad that we have this close collaboration. All right, other questions? Anyone else like, I could join, but I just needed to be a different day or time? I'll just reiterate, if you're thinking of joining, we would love to have you. You're all clearly smart and passionate people with great ideas, so think about it. I see some stuff in the chat. Let's see. Okay. If there's no other questions, we can go ahead and end early. Thank you all for coming today. Thanks for your participation in all the many polls. We hope it was interactive for you. And thanks for your ideas. So have a great rest of your day, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Maria. Great job.
Get well, Maria.
Thanks, y'all.